All wings report in.
HouseDog, standing by.
MotherGoose, standing by.
Lowtech Tuck, standing by.
Lock S-foils in attack position. Animal Squadron ready for battle.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Animal Squadron podcast. You are here with your hairiest host, MotherGoose.
And Lowtech Tuck.
Hell yeah. The boys are back. We left a little bit for the holidays, and we are ready to get back at it.
Yep, we're here, and we're ready.
Real quick, audience, I do want to apologize. We did promise you a holiday special episode. Obviously, that didn't happen. We had some technical difficulties, but I'm sure it won't be anytime soon, but I'm sure there'll be another holiday special at some point.
Plus, too, I mean, we do have our old episode on it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can check it out. I mean, it's a pretty good episode. And this one, we were watching it live, and it was fun, but we'll do it again at some point.
We just need a
back.
couple years to emotionally heal and prepare to watch it again.
Oh, I'm down for 12 months from now, baby.
Hey, you are a better man than I am.
It is so dumb, but
So
I
dumb.
enjoy it. I enjoy it.
Yeah. So today we are watching Skeleton Crew, or not, well, we already watched it. We're discussing Skeleton Crew Season 1, Episode 2. What is this one called?
I noticed something that they're long titles.
They are.
Like a kid titled it, which I like.
Yeah. Okay, way out past the barrier.
Love it.
Yeah. Well, last time we talked, we were all pretty convinced that this was a cult. How you feeling?
Still similar.
Yeah.
And my reasons for that are, first of all, nobody knows where Aden is.
Mm-hmm.
And they all think it's a mythical place.
Yeah.
Like, the feeling I was getting was like El Dorado
Oh, yeah.
or something like that. Like, you know, the Lost City of Gold or like Atlantis or,
Yeah.
you know, and I could imagine like just trying to put myself in the various aliens' places.
Mm-hmm.
If a kid said they were from Atlantis, I'd be like, what? No, you're not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Like Atlantis isn't real. And I think it's kind of a similar thing, but they are really from there. So what that tells me is that that's why whatever organization or government decided to hide it
Yeah.
is because it is so prosperous. And like Neil reveals later, I mean, Wim's dad gives him a lot of money as lunch money.
Yeah.
Like a lot of money.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of thinking that this is like earlier whenever I said El Dorado, I think that's almost exactly what this place is. It's a lost city of gold.
Yeah, those are actually really good examples. I hadn't considered that, or even Atlantis, which I think works well as well. My first thought was actually the Treasure Planet movie. Have you seen that one?
It's been many years.
Hell yeah. So good, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was really surprised when I saw this because I was like, oh, okay, that's why the parents were weird.
Yeah, but at the same time, whenever Wim's dad finds those robots in the woods that are clearly security droids that are on patrol,
Yeah.
and the only thing those security droids are programmed, and I did say programmed, to like care about is the fact that the kids went past the barrier.
Yeah. Mhm.
So they're risking discovery, not worried about that the kids are in mortal danger.
Yeah.
Like they're more so worried that people are going to find out about the planet.
Right.
That's kind of what it seems like to me.
Yeah. Yeah, the droids are definitely still weird. And I actually wanted to talk about the droids. I just love the way they move, though. They're so, like, I know they're droids, so it doesn't, maybe this doesn't mean as much, but it's so robotic.
That's kind of what I was going to say. Like, they're the first, like, well, not the first, but very rarely in Star Wars do you get droids that are like true robots.
Yeah.
Like most of the time, like even like C-3PO, who does walk very robotically, his mind is not very robotic, like how he works. And then also too, like the battle droids, and those weren't programmed with very high intelligence. But even still, they're a lot more lifelike.
Yeah.
Whereas like these really seem to just be robotic drones.
Yeah. Yeah. Out of all the like bipedal or humanoid like droids, these are the first ones that really moved like droids.
Yeah, and they are robots, and that's it.
Yeah. Hey.
Yeah, which I thought
give,
was very interesting.
I'll give you and Mac this one. I don't think these ones are sentient. They're big old camera heads. Where are they gonna keep a brain?
They're just recording. That's it. Yeah, and also, that is one thing though. They did talk about the leader, the monarch, whatever his name is.
What? It starts.
They
with
didn't
an
call him
S.
the emperor, but it was like the lord, or like the superior, or
the supervisor.
The supervisor.
Yes.
Yeah. Which also too I thought was just very interesting and also very cult-like, kind of cyberpunk kind of world. A little scary. I like that.
Yeah, same. And on this thought, though, about this at Atten, the barkeep or the guy who got in a fight with him, I can't remember which one, was like, oh, yeah, you just have Old Republic credit, like in mint credits. And I thought that was a really interesting line as well.
Yeah, which also, too, for background, the banking clan financed the Republic and the CIS during the Clone Wars. So that also begs the question, is the supervisor the most powerful person or like the last remnant of the banking clan?
Ooh, that could be interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm expecting that he's probably Moon.
Yeah.
M-U-U-N, like the race.
Right.
Like the banking clan guys. But I don't know.
I know, they teased us with Acolyte getting to see the moon again.
Yeah, well, and also, what if, I mean, Plagueis obviously died, but, like, what if this is, another apprentice of Plagueis, or it's,
Ooh, yeah.
Carrying on that story somehow?
So, I have a theory. Now, I must say, audience, I'm sorry. I'm a little gremlin, and I couldn't wait, and I had to watch the rest. I'm sorry.
We know you are. We know you are.
Hey,
you know what? We listen and we don't
we listen
judge.
and we don't judge. Yes.
That's right.
I do think this is the longest, though, I ever watched before I broke and binged watched as much as was available. So I'm getting better. Maybe
you made it a couple weeks.
Maybe a couple years from now, I'll have enough self-control to wait.
Nah, man, I get it.
So the reason I'm bringing this up, though, is this. I just wanted to clarify to you, Tucker, that this is just completely out of nowhere theory. This has nothing to do with what we see later on in the show.
Okay.
And this is actually a theory that I had when I first watched this episode specifically. If Atten is a treasure planet or El Dorado-like place, could this potentially be how they explain the First Order gaining so much power? Because imagine if the First
it's a
Order,
bank.
If the First Order gets this treasure planet El Dorado, I mean, because that was a big thing, a big problem that a lot of people had is, the whole empire could only build a Death Star when they had the entire galaxy under their thumb, but this small remnant was able to afford building a giant planet Death Star. Like, that doesn't make sense.
But it's a lot like, what if the Spanish found El Dorado?
Yeah.
Like they were looking for it. I mean, can you imagine how powerful they would have been?
Right. Right.
Like they were already fairly powerful, but they were just a country in Europe with some colonies.
Yeah.
Like they were an empire, but they weren't like the English Empire at
Right.
the time. Like
Right.
they weren't that powerful, but they were pretty doggone powerful. But like, dude, if they found El Dorado, they would have ruled the world.
Yeah. So, like I said, just a crazy out there theory, but we've talked about this before. I think pretty much in every single Star Wars show, we've been like, oh, okay, so they're doing this small little thing to explain the sequel trilogy. And I think that might be what Skeleton Crew is doing.
I buy it. I I like it. Honestly, if this is how they do it, I'm down.
Okay, so at the time of recording this episode 8 has not come out yet. But like crazy out there theory, the season ends with Thrawn's ship showing up.
Oh, and that's how the First Order would have gotten it.
Or like one of the, what do they call it, the War Council or something from Mandalorian season 3, like one of those Palpatine loyalists, maybe his ship shows up.
Yeah, because also, if we're going down the El Dorado rabbit hole with the Spanish Empire and stuff, like, is Thrawn or someone else, like, does the First Order have basically their own Cortez?
Oh, yeah.
Like, maybe. I don't know. I would be very interested in that.
Yeah, so it maybe it's just a completely standalone thing that is just fun to watch, and that too would be amazing. But maybe it does have greater Star Wars connections. We'll just have to see.
Yeah, I'm down, dude. I'm totally down. Switching gears real quick. I loved how piratey this episode was, dude. I loved it. Oh, and actually, you know what? That does kind of go with like El Dorado, Grand Adventure, world empires and all that. I mean, like, you gotta have pirates in there, and we do. It's awesome. And also, like, the droid with like just how piratey he is.
Yeah,
I love it. And it's also like it's kind of dumb, but that's perfect.
Yeah,
because it's just like a coming of age movie.
Yeah,
where it's like it's purposefully kind of dumb. Like it's like he's got a peg leg and one eye, and he's a droid.
Yeah,
and he like has this like real Cockney British accent that's like exactly what you would think a pirate sounds like. I mean, he sounds like Pirates of the Caribbean. He really does.
Yeah. And, okay, so 33 has become one of my favorite, I think, just droids in general. Some of my favorite scenes from this episode is like when he first wakes up and he's just walking around the ship like, Captain.
Yeah, and then also like literally the first thing is he's like, "Oh, stowaways, I'll throw them overboard."
Yeah.
You're just like, "Whoa, hey, hey, buddy."
Then they continue the bit when Fern becomes captain. He doesn't assume that the rest of the kids are per crew. He's just like, okay, so she's captain, but the rest are still stowaways.
So let's just kill them all.
Yeah,
I love it. Also, too, later whenever he literally says, like, whenever they're talking to him at the spaceport toward the end. Whenever he tries to come and rescue him, they're like, "You're the one who took us to this pirate spaceport and like didn't tell us about it." He's like, "You guys aren't pirates?"
yeah.
I love that. It's like he thinks everyone's a pirate, and he's a pirate. So.
Yeah, good for him. And also, though, he's a beast. He took down like 4 or 5 pirates before they could bring him down.
With his fists.
Yeah.
And he has those little shields. Those are awesome.
Dude, when they were shooting his shield and it heated up the metal and then he pressed that metal into that like hog alien's face.
Yeah, and then he starts squealing like a pig, like a real pig.
Yeah.
Which I was like, "Wow, dude, that's perfect sound design too."
Yeah. I think something that I was a little worried about, and I think I don't know about how much of the Star Wars community, but a couple people I've talked about this show specifically were also worried about, was with it being a primarily like child-led show or series, that it would be very childish. And I think this episode alone proved that it's not.
Yeah. And also, too, like, one thing I've been hearing from the naysayers is, like, that this is a show that no one asked for, which I do somewhat agree with. Like, I mean, it never occurred to me that we should have a show like this. Mm-hmm. Like, this was never something that I did ask for. But at the same time, like, if I had known that this was available, I would have asked for it.
Yeah.
I definitely would have. I mean, this is awesome. Yeah.
Like, yeah. Okay, sure. They're right that no one asked for it, but also it's awesome.
Yeah, right. Because also, who doesn't love a coming of age adventure?
Yeah.
Who doesn't? Like, who do you know that didn't at least grow up watching, like, Sandlot, The Goonies, Stand By Me,
yeah,
E.T., insert your favorite coming of age movie. I mean, like, everyone loves these. Everyone does.
Yeah.
Like, and even if it's not your idea of what serious cinema is, fine. I think that opinion is valid, but at the same time, you can't tell me it's not good.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, like you can't tell me that it's not entertaining, at the very least.
Yeah, I genuinely think this might be one of the best Star Wars shows that's come out.
I kind of think so, too. I mean, yeah.
We've been eating good, because I think we've said that for almost every show.
Yeah, and also, like, the only show that I didn't say that immediately, I ended up eating my words.
Yeah.
Like, Acolyte was the only show that I legitimately had some beef with originally.
Yeah, and then it became
and then I
amazing.
loved it.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And this is just starting off good. So
yeah.
I can't imagine that this isn't going to be awesome.
And I think I said this last time, but now that I've watched episode 2, I stand by it. This is one of the best, like, looking Star Wars shows. The cinematography is so good.
Yeah, and also, too, like, one thing, and this just applies to the entertainment industry in general, but, like, one thing that in the past probably 10 years that I've really not liked in general is that, like, nobody does original stuff anymore. Mm-hmm. It's always like, let's remake this movie from the 80s, or let's remake that movie from the 80s. Let's make a sequel from this movie from the 80s. Yeah. Like, you know, or let's have what seems like an original idea, but guess what? The whole plot is something from the 80s. Whereas, like, this is just like, this is truly original.
Yeah.
And there's some homages. There are. But they do it on purpose, and it's clearly on purpose.
Yeah.
Which I like. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not... While it references some things, I think the pool of stuff that it's referencing is a lot larger, and they're not just copying The Goonies or Stranger Things or, you know, Stand By Me or whatever. Like, I think we said it last time, it's clearly in the same genre, but it stands on its own 2 feet.
Absolutely. And, like, and again, I said, like, homages, and I really mean that. Like, it's not the stuff they do that's like, whatever childhood movie. It's not copying. It's definitely just, like, a little scene that's kind of a love letter to the movies that we all grew up with. Mm-hmm. But they also switch it up too. Like, that's another thing I like about it. Like, to your point, is it's not just straight up copying one childhood movie.
Yeah.
It's kind of a love letter to all of them.
Yeah.
And it's original at the same time.
Yeah.
Which I really like.
I also think it's a love letter to just Star Wars too. Like, yeah, obviously it's in Star Wars, but I don't know. I think this is a show that if George ever watched it, I think he would love.
I think so too. And also, one thing I like about it is it doesn't just harp on the same thing that we've been watching for 40 years. Like, it's not like, yeah, sure, there's some Jedi stuff, and there's some force wielding, and there's some light speed, and, like, there's some Star Wars stuff. There's some speeder bikes and things like that. But at the same time, you could not label this as Star Wars, and I think it would still work. I mean, obviously, you'd have to make some changes for copyright reasons, but, like, it would still work.
Yeah, just change a couple names, and it would be great.
Yeah. I love it. I really love it. Mm-hmm.
Me too. Well, so getting on to the main cast, our 4 kids. Neil stays on top. I love Neil. He's so great in this episode.
I also love how wimpy he is. I mean, everyone's got to have the chunk. I mean, like every single coming of age movie, you got to have the chunky weenie kid.
Yeah.
And Neil is perfect. He is the chunky weenie kid, and I love him.
Yeah, but he's got a little sass to him, though. Like, when Fern was like, can you close his trunk? He was just like, I don't talk through my trunk. I love that. It's so funny.
Yeah, I love him. And definitely, like, ranking-wise, I think the ranking for me goes Neil, Wim, Fern, and then Fern's friend. It's
KB.
not P. KB.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, mostly just because KB doesn't really talk.
Yeah.
But, yeah. I mean, mostly just because you don't really know KB. Like, she's kind of mysterious, but...
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Something I love about KB, though, is she reminds me a lot of that one guy from Cloud City, Lando's assistant.
Me too. The cyborg, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I also wonder if she is a cyborg like him.
Yeah.
Like if they do that for some reason to very small children or babies even.
Yeah.
Like if that's something they do.
Also, just while we're throwing a question out there, is it morally okay?
Yeah.
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 I mean, that is part of the thing too, because also, at least the guy in Cloud City, not all of his choices are his. Like he's got the cyborg part of his brain, so he can be programmed.
Do restraining bolts work on cyborgs? I hadn't even considered that.
Because the cyborg guy from Cloud City, like that's like part of how the Empire gets in.
Right.
Is because
I'd
of
forgotten
him.
That.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And I always thought, anyway, that wasn't necessarily his choice. I thought that was a lot of it because he's a cyborg.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that, like, that was either programmed into him in secret or that they were able to hack him or maybe they were able to pay him off somehow. Like, it seems like there was some sort of action that took his full free will away from him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I hope KB's not like that. Like, I hope that her will is hers.
Yeah.
And that maybe this is more of like an enhancement rather than a cyborg thing.
Okay. Last thing, I promise, in terms of this route. But I'm really curious, obviously her being a child, how do the cybernetics affect, like, development? Like, mental development? Does it affect her brain? You know?
Yeah.
How much is her? How much is her cybernetics?
Yeah, my personal opinion is that you quote unquote grow into it.
Okay.
That it is attached to you.
Right.
But like at least while you're like a baby and like a little kid, that the development's pretty much the same whether you've been altered or not.
Yeah, it probably would be easier if growing into it than just like as like a 30-year-old man just be giving some cybernetics and saying, hey, figure it out.
Yeah. But at the same time, just taking kind of an evil twist, just playing devil's advocate. What if that's why people do it?
Ooh.
What if it's like to fully control the child from birth?
Ooh. Yeah, I don't like that.
Like, what if it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, just some, like maybe the secret government does it. Like maybe the supervisor picks a kid and does that to them without their choice, or I don't know.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah.
But it's also like sort of a selection process. Like he does that. And also theoretically, same thing happened to the Cloud City guy, where it's like they do that, and maybe this is how they twist it to the parents, is like, your child will be taken care of forever, and they will have a job in the government, and they will be powerful, and they will be wealthy, and they will be well behaved, but their free will's gonna be gone.
Yeah. Ooh. Stupid cult.
And I think maybe it's possible that someone would agree to that.
Yeah, I could definitely see a cult doing something like that. Because, I mean, the whole thing is controlling people. And if you can just put a little implant in them that makes that easier, why not do it, right?
Yeah, but at the same time, there is a rarity to it. Like, you don't see many
Right, they're
Star
not
Wars
all like
characters
that.
with that implant.
Yeah.
So at the same time, maybe also, on a positive note, it's not anyone's choice. Like, maybe that's something that, like, let's say KB or Cloud City guy, maybe they were gonna die.
Ooh.
Like, maybe they were like, maybe it was like an infant thing where like they were gonna die
They had to.
unless
Yeah.
they had this life-saving thing.
Yeah.
Or maybe they like would never live a normal life, and this is the thing that gives them a normal life. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm excited to find out, see what they have for us.
Yeah. Or also too, maybe it's a cool hat.
Maybe it's just a cool hat. We should talk about the pirate port. We talked a little bit about how how much pirate stuff we got, but this, like, just space pirate port, I really enjoyed.
Oh, me too. It reminded me of like from Pirates of the Caribbean Tortuga.
Yeah.
Like whenever they go and there's like the bazaar and all the like wacky characters and all that stuff. And also by bazaar, I just mean like a marketplace with
Aliens.
a crazy
Yeah.
cast of characters,
Right.
whatever. Like whether it's a pirate movie or a space movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I really feel like they handled the whole, like, kids shouldn't be here aspect well.
Yeah.
Like, people were fighting. There were droid fights going on.
There's that drunk guy throwing up.
Yeah, I heard mention of assassins.
There are people clearly doing drugs.
There was clearly a brothel. Like,
Yeah.
I think they did a really good job of saying, yep, this is not a kid-friendly space.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, they did it in a way that was kid-friendly, which I also appreciate. Like, they did it in a way that it's like, show don't tell. Like, let's say a kid is watching this show. I don't think from that scene that there's going to be any parents having to have uncomfortable talks
Right.
with a kid way too young
yeah.
from watching this.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, which I like that. I love show don't tell, but also like I definitely am a big innocence guy. Like I really appreciate when shows like this like keep innocence alive while still telling the story. They're like, yes, it is a seedy place, but your child here on Earth can watch it and you don't have to hurt their innocence.
Right.
Because they watched it. Yeah.
That drunk guy throwing up, he just had a tummy ache, right? Like, it's all easily explainable. Yeah.
Yeah. And I like that. Or like the guy that was breathing in the drugs. Like, a kid wouldn't really get that, you know?
Yeah, it's just a silly little mask.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And he's just going to have a really silly time.
Yeah, he's doing something he shouldn't, but
Yeah.
that's all that anyone would know, is that he's not doing a good thing, but it's... What is it? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something I also really enjoyed, the pirate aspect, is we got a little bit of pirates and rebels, but we got a ton of pirate stuff in the Clone Wars, specifically Hondo and his pirate crew. Visually, this other group of pirates is very distinct. You know, I think there was like one, maybe two of Hondo's species in there, but this looked like a crew of people from all over the galaxy. Their spaceport was unique. Their space designs were unique. It wasn't all just a repeat of Hondo's stuff, which I wasn't sure how they were going to handle that.
Yeah. You like with Pirates without doing just Hondo and the boys.
Right, because
Yeah.
I think Hondo and the boys probably were, at least in this, like, prequel to sequel trilogy era, one of the biggest pirate crews ever. But that doesn't mean they were the only ones.
Yeah, and also, I mean, they're kind of the only ones we really spend any time with. But again, like you said, and like we say all the time, just because something's not the main focus of a story doesn't mean that it's not there.
Right.
It's a huge galaxy with a lot of stuff going on. So
this is another reason I'm really excited for whenever we do circle back to really getting into the High Republic era. You finished Jedi Survivor, right?
yeah,
Okay, so we got to see a little bit of the pirate faction in that era that makes up one of the main, like, villains.
one of the main villains. What do you mean?
Yeah, so
Oh, like one of the main villains in Skeleton Crew? Is that what you're saying?
sorry, in the High Republic era.
Oh, one of the main villains from the books and comic books and stuff.
Yeah, which we
Gotcha.
we didn't see it any in Acolyte that I'm aware of, and we only got a taste of it in Skeleton Crew. It's the flashback with Dagan Gera. I think his name was Dagan Gera when Tanlor
Yeah.
gets attacked. Anyway, I'm pretty sure those were the pirates, but in terms of pirates throughout the Star Wars era, now we kind of have these three distinct different groups. We've got the High Republic ones, Hondo's group, and now this new group of pirates.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, speaking of the pirates, too, you know, one thing I loved is the little ferryman.
Yeah, right.
Little guy. And also, his little dinghy just, like, cracked me up. Like, there was tape on it.
Yeah.
Like, and it was just a thin layer of plastic holding between, like, you and certain death.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then also, too, whenever he's demanding payment, he's like, and they're like, and he's just holding his hand out. And then KB's like, I think he wants you to pay him. And then, like, what cracked me up is just like one of the visual cues that Wim has a lot of money for where they are is he hands him like one little credit and he just like, and just runs off.
Yeah.
Like runs off like he stole something.
Love that guy.
And then also too later, whenever 33 comes and like tries to rescue him again, like the ferryman's there and he's like ready to like take him back.
Yeah.
Because he wants that money, dude.
It's a
He
good
wants that
business,
money.
man.
That's
Hell yeah.
right.
Oh, man. Okay, so I think really the only big thing left to talk about, at least that I have, is the very end.
Well, actually, real quick before the very end, the person who shoots 33 is Wolfman
Right. Yeah.
from the beginning, which is interesting. So that's like the kid's first time meeting Wolfman.
Right. Is his name Brutus?
I don't remember.
Yeah, I can't either.
I mean,
But
if
cool
we
guy.
if we know his name, it's just subtitle only. I don't really think anyone calls him by his name yet. So,
Gotcha.
or if they did, it was in like the prologue of the first episode.
Yeah, when he did his mutiny. But yeah, so the kids, like you said, 33 gets shot. The kids get captured, and they find a certain somebody in prison.
It's our boy.
Our boy who has force powers.
Yeah, and then also Wim says, "You're a Jedi," and he says, "Can you keep a secret?"
Right.
So, like, I wonder if he is I mean, he must have some sort of training. I mean, in order to use the Force like that as an adult, you have to have had some training, at least. So I wonder, like, is he another Order 66 survivor, or is he just some sort of rogue
Who figured
Force
out they had
user.
the force. Yeah.
and like kept practicing so they didn't lose their power?
Yeah. This, I don't know.
Yeah, honestly, like, if he's an Order 66 survivor, I'm okay with it, but I'd kind of prefer we do something else.
Yeah. So we've talked about it on the podcast before. Before this guy, there was, I think, roughly 38 Order 66 survivors known about, and I think they might have added a couple more since then. So we'll say 40 as a rough number. Even if we doubled that and said there were 80 that survived, that's less than 1% of the Jedi Order that survived Order 66.
Well, yeah, because like at the height of their power, there's 10,000 of them.
Right.
Yeah.
And out of those, again, hypothetical 80, almost none of them make it to episode 4. Like, most of them are found and killed or get themselves killed.
Well, because I mean,
by that point.
I mean, at that point, episode 4, you know, we can assume that it's Obi-Wan, Yoda, Ahsoka, and I will count Ahsoka, even though she's technically
right.
Whatever. You get my point.
Yeah.
And then like maybe Quinlan Voss, just based off of Obi-Wan season 1.
Yeah.
Like, and so that's 4, and let's just to throw a number out there. Let's say there's 10.
Yeah.
That's a quarter of the surviving Jedi
that we know about. Yeah.
That actually make it.
Right. So I don't have an issue with how many have survived, because I think number-wise it does make sense. Narrative-wise, it has popped up a lot throughout the shows and stuff.
Well, and that's why I'd like if we did something else.
Different.
Only because, like, it's such an original idea for a show. It's a good show.
Mm-hmm.
I think why not do something a little wild? Not super wild, but like let's say that like we already have 2 races of witches. Like what if there's Force wizards out there?
Yeah. That'd
like,
be cool.
You know, like or like, you know, Force monks or something that like maybe started out as a branch of Jedi from a long time ago, but at this point they're more so just an order of Force monks.
Yeah. Which, minor spoilers, we have not had a single Order 66 flashback so far.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, Jude Law, I believe, is in his 50s, and so if his character's roughly around the same age, he would be the right age at this point in Star Wars to be an Order 66 survivor.
And that's why also, too, like, my grand point is that this is all wishful thinking. I think we all know that this is going to be an Order 66 thing. I mean, I think, honestly, if I was a betting man, I would be putting all the chips on him being Order 66.
Somebody in Disney just really likes making us suffer, because no matter how many times we get an Order 66 scene, it is always sad.
Well, yeah, I mean, and it also, to be fair, is it's one of the most important events that happen in the galaxy ever.
Right, yeah.
Like, it definitely deserves the credit it's gotten. And also, I think it's cool that we've done so many different perspectives of it. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I'm also kind of in the camp of, like, we get it to a degree. Yeah. Like, I'm not real sure that another Order 66 perspective is really going to change it for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I think...
Like, we've already got a ton of them. We've already got basically, you know, if you count the first 20 minutes of the first episode of Bad Batch.
Yes.
As one flashback. And then you have all the other flashbacks. Like, dude, we've got like 45 minutes of Order 66.
Yeah.
That's quite a bit of time.
Yeah.
As far as like, I mean, because, and also I'm just kind of in the camp too of like, really, what else is there to understand about it?
Yeah. The only thing I would really be curious about is because we've gotten lots of perspectives. Jedis in ships, Jedis on the Venators, Jedi in the main temple, Jedis fighting on planets, right? The only other perspective I would ever really be curious about is the other Jedi temples.
That would be interesting. And then also, too, I would be very down for a very gritty story with clones on Operation Nightfall.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like whenever they
really keep
whenever
it
they
from the
get
clone's perspective.
whenever they get the news, the operation, their feelings after,
Yeah.
like that kind of. I would be very, very open to that. Now, will that happen? Probably never. Just to be honest, but those are really like the only perspectives I'm really interested in at this point. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean they've really explored most of them.
Yeah, and also like you have Jedis that die. You have Jedis that escape.
That's right.
You have Jedis that escape only for a little bit. You have Jedis that escape for a long time. I mean, like, I'm just kind of at the point where like, what else really is there?
You have Jedi that sneak back into the temple and successfully escape. You have Jedis that sneak back into the temple and then get killed after. Like,
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I would like to see something different at this point. Yeah. But also, am I going to complain? No. But
yeah, it's going to be really cool and heartbreaking if they do.
and I'll watch it. I will gladly watch it. My
Yeah.
butt will be on my couch watching it. But at the same time,
They could put out a show about, like, Star Wars tax collectors, and I probably would watch it because maybe there's some really cool lore information.
oh, for real, dude. Also, what if it's like Star Wars laundromat?
How do they clean their clothes, right?
I
don't
gotta
know.
Does a Jedi go there? Like,
Is
did
it
the
like
Jedi do
us?
their own
Do they
laundry,
do their
or do they
own
just
thing?
come in?
Yeah.
Or
What do
I
the
gotta know.
machines look like?
For real.
Maybe
Also,
theirs
too-
are spheres.
Actually, you know what? Rise of the Red Blade, that book that Mac and I read. Did you read it?
Not yet, but I'm okay with spoilers.
One thing that really piqued my interest from that book, though, is temple workers.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And, like, temple workers that aren't Jedi. Like, they're just people, and that's just their job.
Yeah.
Is to, like, repair droids or clean or things like that. I would love a show about that.
Yeah.
I'd be very interested as far as, like, what is their life like?
Same. It's got to be really cool, right? Like, just getting to be in the temple.
That, or also, too, like, do they get to a point where a lot of people get where it's just like, it's just a job and they don't give a crap anymore?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, like, I would kind of like to see a disgruntled temple worker. And then also, like, the flip side of, like, a temple worker on their first day. I'd like to see both
Yeah.
in this theoretical show. Yeah. Also, you could do, like, kind of a comedy drama. Be good. It'd be really good.
Yeah. I could see that really working.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that was everything for this episode. Anything else, my friend?
I can't think of anything super important. That's about it. Oh, actually, real quick. The little mouse in 33's eye. That also, too, was just such a Pirates of the Caribbean thing to me.
Yeah.
Just a little animal that lives in his socket. That's just, I love it.
And he's such a cute little guy. He's got like 4 eyes.
Yeah, but then also, too, like, it's gross that, like, a
Yeah.
little animal lives inside of his brain. But it's also, like, it's kind of cute. Like, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fun vibe.
It blurs that line, and I like it.
Hell yeah. Well, audience, I think next couple episodes, we'll definitely probably do one more Skeleton Crew review. And then I think we're probably close enough where we can do our 2025 looking forward episode where we'll make our predictions for the who we think might win the 2025 tournament.
I like it.
If you want to be a part of this conversation, you can email us at animalsquadron@gmail.com. Again, that is animalsquadron@gmail.com. And if you could leave us a review wherever you're listening, that would be amazing. For the Animal Squadron, this has been MotherGoose.
And Lowtech Tell.
Goodbye, everybody!
Adios.